Okay, so while we weren't quite able to do it as a double feature, Clay and I did finish watching the Showa era, which consists of Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla and ended with Terror of Mechagodzilla. I'll be talking about the first one first and then the second one in a video probably immediately after this one. So, the first thing that stuck out to me while watching Goji versus Mechagoji is during the title sequence, there was this really nice song. It was like this very jazzy swing kind of song, and I just really liked that. I really dug it. I thought it was neat as hell. Getting into the basic plot of the movie, stop me if you've heard this one before. There's aliens who want to conquer Earth and are doing so by using this particular kaiju under their control. It's Astro Monster all over again. It's Megalon all over again. It's Gigan all over again. I don't think it's an inherently terrible idea, and a lot of that comes from just how much I really like Astro Monster. I really and what was it? I think no, not Final Wars. Well, Final Wars is going to be the Zillion, so I guess there's that too. Shit, I can't remember what it is. It's Destroy All Monsters. I'm like, not All Monsters Attack, because that's Manila, but the one with a similar title. It's Destroy All Monsters. Also does the same shit. I think they kind of perfected it the first time around with Astro Monster, because I actually really liked the Zillions. I liked their plan of we're gonna have Earth give us the kaiju, which also means that Earth is even more vulnerable. We're gonna do this whole, we're gonna, like, a cultural exchange, we'll give you the cure for cancer, and then you can play this tape with the cure for cancer, and the cape is actually just from Spaceballs. They're like, ha, fooled you! It's so petty and mean-spirited that it's kind of amazing. And every subsequent attempt, I just find myself going like, oh, we're doing the Zillions again, but less cool and less interesting than the Zillions were. And this movie's really no exception to that. The one thing I will say is kind of like in Gigan when the aliens are like, oh, actually, if you saw our true forms, you'd freak out because they're really bugs. Here, it's anytime they take significant damage. Was it this one or was it Terror of Mechagodzilla? Because I think it happened in both. Like, their faces would get messed up and, like, kind of start melting. In one of the two movies, they were monkeys. I think it was Terror of Mechagodzilla was the monkeys. And in this movie, though, it's like their faces did get, like, kind of fucked up. It was weird, but it was kind of cool, I guess. And at least gave them something to remember them by. As for the humans, to me, this is one of those movies where the humans just didn't really leave an impression. Were they bad? No, I just don't remember them, with one exception, with Nambara, who was the Interpol agent. This guy was cool. Like, anytime he showed up, he just kind of kicked ass. I had a really good time watching him. This is also the movie where, again, while I don't remember the human characters as characters very well, they had some fun set pieces, because there's a few times where I'm, like, actually watching a fight between the people. Like, am I watching, like, a kung fu movie? This is actually kind of fun. Alright, let's go. And then again, whenever the Interpol agent showed up, I was like, oh no, they're actually doing cool shit. As for the kaiju, we get not one, not three, but two new kaiju in this movie. The first I'm going to talk about is King Caesar. King Caesar is hyped up the entire movie. The aliens are like, dude, we can't let them summon King Caesar. You know, we got Mechagoji, he could take care of Goji, but if they summon King Caesar, we're fucked. And then the humans are like, we gotta be able to summon King Caesar. King Caesar is gonna save us. And there's this whole, like, musical segment of this, like, shrine maiden performing this song to awaken King Caesar from his slumber. I'm like, this is kind of fun. I've seen this before with the Mothra twins, so you don't get points for originality, but it's still the kind of thing I enjoy, so go ahead and do it. King Caesar is this giant shisha dog. And as someone who grew up in Okinawa, as someone who saw a lot of shisha dogs just like on houses and different ways that they were sculpted, I have a real soft spot for King Caesar. I'm like, I really, really want to love this thing. With all that being said, even I can admit he's kind of lame. He gets really hyped up and then just gets his ass kicked. Because let's talk about the star of the show, the other new monster, the eponymous Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla is introduced next to an exploding volcano. Not an erupting volcano, but a volcano that's just constantly has explosions going on. While looking like Godzilla, basically wearing his own Godzilla suit. He's got this swagger as he's walking around. He actively poses like he kicks Ingudius' ass and then just starts dusting himself off. He doesn't roar, but he's hissing the entire time. I'm like, dude, Godzilla's hissing. He's never made that kind of sound before. This is cool. That's probably Mechagodzilla in disguise. Fuck, I kind of like that. This is really neat. And then just some of, like, as he's taking damage in the suit, you just start to see part of the metal and the suit melts off. Not quite like the Terminator, but almost like the Terminator. And then when he's just full Mechagodzilla, I just really like how he looks. I like the design. He's got this, like, eye blast. He's got this fucking, like, hyper beam that he's shooting that's just making shit explode everywhere. He can turn his head all the way around like he's in The Exorcist. He can start spinning his head and making a shield. He's got missiles coming out of his claws. He's just so cool. Like, I really like this thing. And he's so aggro. Like, holy shit. So getting into the fights, because we've got about 3, arguably 4, if you want to say King Caesar versus Mechagoji, and then Godzilla showing up as 2 different fights. I think it's 3 big ones. The first is Mechagodzilla in his Godzilla suit fighting Ingudius, and he's just beating the shit out of him. He's picking him up and slamming. He's slamming him again. There's blood everywhere. He grabs Ingudius' face and just starts ripping his face open. Or not, like his mouth open. Ingudius is, he's not fighting back. He's trying his best, but he's kind of fucking lame. A term I have learned from watching Napoleon Blown Apart videos is tomato can, which I know from wrestling is that's what you call a jobber. This is the dude who exists just to get beat up to show how cool the new guy is, like to hype up the other guy. That's just what Ingudius is. He's just kind of lame. But this fight is so violent. It's really badass. Then Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and they just start fucking blasting each other. There's shit exploding everywhere. Like, this is what I want to see in a Godzilla movie. I'm sorry. I say that as someone who still says Gojira is the best movie we've seen in the marathon so far. But just seeing shit get destroyed is awesome. I don't think Godzilla Reigns Again is good. It's arguably the worst one. But watching Godzilla and Ingudius destroy the Osaka Castle is so cool to watch. And that's just what this first fight between the two of them is. It's awesome. And they both... Another thing I really like about this fight is that it's a double KO. It's not that, like, oh man, Godzilla got absolutely clapped and then, like, has to go get a power-up or anything. It's like, no, they both kind of took each other out. I actually think that's, like, really neat. There's also this part afterwards when Godzilla is by himself and he... Wait, was it in this one or was it in the other one? I'm, like, 90% sure it was in this one. Yeah, it was in this one. Where he had this moment that felt like it was straight out of the Shawshank Redemption, even though it's years before it, when Godzilla's like standing there in the rain and he's got this pose and he's looking to the sky and then there's lightning coming down and he's getting struck by lightning and he's got this aura around him like he's turning Super Saiyan and he's just getting stronger. I'm like, this is really fucking cool. And then you get the final fight. Phase 1 is King Caesar showing up with all of his hype, fighting Mechagodzilla, and he's trying. Mechagodzilla doesn't feel like he's really trying. It's just beating his ass. And then after that, eventually Godzilla walks up, and Mechagodzilla starts beating his ass, and Godzilla's fighting back. There's this one scene, again, we watched two of them almost back to back, and they both had Godzilla and Mechagodzilla. I think it's in this one where he's just blasting Godzilla with everything he has, and Godzilla's just running forward and tanking all of this damage. No, sorry, that is the second one, because in this movie he doesn't need to do that. Because he is able to do some damage, and there's a point where Mechagodzilla, because I guess he's a transformer, like turns into a jet and starts flying off. And Godzilla, because he's been struck by lightning like 36 hours ago, turns himself into a magnet, pulls Mechagodzilla over to him, lets King Caesar beat on him for a bit, and then just rips his fucking head off. It's really cool. There's also this one scene where Mechagodzill's blasting Godzilla while his head is looking the exact opposite direction and shooting lasers at King Caesar. It was cool. It was really cool. So overall, it's one of those movies where, like, okay, our main humans, for me, were kind of forgettable. Our main antagonists were kind of forgettable, too. And one of our new monsters was really lame. But we did get one human character that was fun, and some genuinely fun scenes with the humans. As lame as King Caesar is, there's enough things that, like, for me, he feels very nostalgic and very personal. Again, as someone who grew up in Okinawa, I'm like, this, I wish you were cooler. It really makes me wish you were cooler. But this feels like something that was made for me, so I'll take that. And Mechagodzilla absolutely steals the show. Definitely not my favorite of the Showa era films, but it's a good time, and I'm really glad that I watched it.